My parents gave my husband a watch for his birthday. The moment I saw it, my face drained of color. "Don't touch it," I said. "What? Why?" he asked. "Please just don't touch it," I whispered. "It's a trap." And I was right. We didn't raise our voices. We dealt with it the following morning. Each of my parents received a letter, and when they saw it, they started yelling. It arrived on a Wednesday. The box was plain. Just an ordinary cardboard package. Nothing about it stood out. A simple brown parcel with a shipping label and a cheerful birthday sticker. Someone had peeled off a roll. We had just finished dinner. A forgettable meal, beige in color. Likely frozen pizza. The kind of dinner that leaves a quiet sense of guilt lingering on your teeth. He was rinsing the plates, and I was wiping the counter when the doorbell rang. That's when we found it, the box. He opened it the way anyone would open a pair of socks. Interested, but not overly excited. "Oh, your parents sent me something," he said. I glanced over. "Did they? That's nice." "A watch," he added, pulling out a velvet box from inside. Black and sleek. Too sleek. In that moment, my body reacted before my mind caught up. My stomach churned slightly, a soft alarm that was fading quickly. I dried my hands slowly. He was already slipping his thumb under the lid. "Don't touch it," I said. He looked at me, puzzled. "What? Don't touch it," I repeated more firmly. "Please, it's a trap." He gave me a look as if I'd just asked him to put the watch in the fridge. "What are you talking about? It's a present." I stepped forward, pulled the tea towel off the oven handle, and carefully wrapped the box. Even through the fabric, I could feel its weight. Too heavy. "Let's check something first," I said. He hesitated. "Check what?" "I'm not sure yet. Just something." He watched as I placed the wrapped box on the table's edge, as if it might suddenly leap at us. He didn't laugh. That's when I knew he felt it too, whatever it was. Not the exact nature of it, but definitely the unease, the wrongness. We sat down. I grabbed my phone and took a photo of the watch box. Perfect shot, good lighting. Not for memories, but for documentation. Then I began to search. Manufacturer logo, box design, serial number, retail listings, pricing. It didn't take long. "Look at this," I said. He leaned over and blinked. $3,800. Silence filled the room. Nobody in my family ever sends anything worth $3,800. Unless it's a medical bill or a last-ditch effort for help. My brother had only moved out 6 months ago, barely managing to scrape together a down payment for his own place. My parents were far from rich, living off frozen veggies and old habits. I had quietly paid their bills for years, without question, because that's just what you do, right? So, where had the watch come from? He leaned back, arms crossed. Maybe they love me so much that they skipped heating the house just so I could wear this luxury. I didn't laugh. Neither did he. Something in the air changed, subtle yet permanent. The watch was too much, and I knew it. I didn't want to believe it. Not about my parents, but I had an inkling where the money came from. And if I was right, this wasn't just a gift. It was something far more dangerous. A setup. If you ask my parents, they'll tell you they always treated us equally, and that's true. If by equally, you mean I did everything, while my brother got away with literal murder. I was the one with the lists, chore charts, college applications. My brother had ideas, mostly about how the world wasn't fair to people like him, who just hadn't figured out their gift yet. He dropped out of university twice and once forgot he was even enrolled. Meanwhile, I paid my parents' phone bills without anyone asking because that's just what you do. That didn't change when I met my husband. If anything, it made everything more complicated. He wasn't rich. He wasn't powerful. He wasn't even tall, which my mother found disappointing. But he ran a small local charity that fed the homeless. And I fell for him the way you fall into a warm bed. After years of hard work, he had started the charity with nothing. No family money, no investors, just borrowed folding tables, a church basement, and an overwhelming amount of passion. I began helping on weekends. At first, it was peeling potatoes and serving tea. Then I helped with the budget. Soon, I was there every free minute I had. Eventually, we got married. The charity grew. Not quickly, but steadily. Word of mouth, community support, a few generous donors. We opened a second location, then a third. Still humble, still tight on resources, but it was working. We were making a difference. And my parents noticed. By then they were nearing retirement, with not enough pension or savings. My brother was still living at home, mostly playing with business ideas and forgetting the trash. So we offered them something to help. Part-time positions in charity administration, nothing too difficult, just something manageable and meaningful. It felt like a win, like we were all on the same side. Then 6 months ago things shifted. My brother moved out and, to everyone's surprise, bought an apartment. Not rented, he said, bought. He had started a tech company, something related to intellectual property, but he couldn't share the details. NDAs, patents, confidentiality agreements. I asked a few questions, but eventually, I stopped pressing. He never really grasped the tech or business side of things. Whether or not he was lying to my face, I couldn't tell. He kept assuring me everything was going great. Around the same time, my dad introduced a new food supplier. He came to us one afternoon, folder in hand, looking smug as if he'd solved some big puzzle, and was waiting for applause. "I've found someone," he said. "I did the research. I sampled the food, checked the prices, and this one's better than our current supplier. Healthier, cheaper, and locally owned." My husband asked a couple of questions, reviewed the numbers, and everything seemed fine. We trusted him, so we signed the contract. 3 months later, the complaints started. It was subtle at first. A few people remarked that the food tasted different. Then it got worse. People started getting sick, stomach cramps, vomiting. One man ended up in the hospital, severely dehydrated. He hadn't eaten anything else for 2 days. My husband was furious, something I'd never seen before. He went into full audit mode, calling shelters, pulling invoices, demanding ingredient lists. What he uncovered made him physically sick. They had been substituting products. Cheap meat instead of quality, expired canned goods, off-brand produce, and they were billing us like it was gourmet. He called a meeting with my parents and told them we were terminating the contract. They pushed back hard. My mother insisted it was a misunderstanding. My father argued that people were exaggerating and that the invoices looked fine. He tried to justify that maybe the sick people had eaten something else. It was strange, desperate. My dad got defensive, insisting that pulling out of the deal would ruin our business relationships, make us look bad. "Do you think Michelin stars matter here?" he asked, his tone sharp. His anger wasn't just protective, it was something deeper. The more they argued, the more it seemed like there was something else beneath the surface. They weren't just defending a supplier, they were defending themselves. Then, just as my husband was about to send the termination notice, a box arrived. It was his birthday that week, but we weren't doing much. Just takeout and a movie, maybe a walk if it didn't rain. When the package came, he didn't think much of it. He smiled, mentioning that my mother had finally remembered the date. Inside was a watch, wrapped in a luxury black velvet box, heavy, too heavy. He reached to open it, but I stopped him. The next morning, we barely exchanged words. He brewed the coffee. I burned the toast, not on purpose, but I didn't bother making a new batch. It felt fitting somehow, the charred edges, the quiet kitchen. We both seemed to be thinking the same thing, but neither of us said it out loud. The box still sat on the counter, wrapped in the same tea towel from the night before, unopened, untouched, watching us. I wrote 2 letters and sealed them in plain envelopes. He didn't ask what I wrote. He already knew. He picked up the watch like it was ticking, not just audibly, but like it had wires, a countdown. He used a clean dish towel to handle it, avoiding the leather, the velvet, and even the box. He didn't exhale until it was rewrapped and placed back in its original packaging. We got in the car, and the drive was silent. It wasn't that we were arguing, nor were we withdrawing. We were just bracing, like stillness before a storm hits the glass. When we arrived at the charity office, my parents were already inside, pretending to be busy. I saw my mother rereading the same email, my father scrolling through his phone. Neither of them looked up when we walked in. We didn't stop at reception. We walked straight to the staff room. Neutral ground, no clients, no onlookers, just harsh lighting and mismatched chairs. He handed them the box, and I passed them the envelopes. My father looked down at both items, then back at us. What's this? He asked. Open it, I replied. They did. 2 printed letters. Polite, formal, immediate termination, 1 month's pay, and no further involvement. My mother looked stunned, her throat constricting as she asked, You're firing us? Yes, I said, just like that. Exactly like that. My father stood up abruptly, his chair scraping loudly on the linoleum. We're your family, he said. Not anymore, I answered. He looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language, like I had missed my cue in a play. We've done nothing wrong, he said. No, I replied, and then I pulled out my phone, opened the browser, and showed them the listing again. The watch. The price. Want to explain where this came from? They didn't answer. Why would you send that to him? I asked. You couldn't even afford to fix the boiler last winter. I paid that bill for you. Still silence. So I'll ask again. Where did you get the money for the watch? My father shrugged. It was a gift, he said. An incredibly expensive gift, I retorted. We thought he deserved something nice, my mother added. Is generosity a crime now? She asked. No, I said. Just suspicious. That's when they both started talking at once, defensive, flustered, their words tumbling over one another. You don't understand how hard it's been. The supplier was legitimate. We were only trying to help your brother. That made me stop. What does he have to do with this? I asked. My father shut down, and my mother turned her face away. Why were you pushing so hard for that company? I asked. What was all the urgency about? Why lie about the food quality? People got sick. You knew that. They were exaggerating, my father muttered. One of them ended up in the hospital, I reminded him. He had no response. You had something to gain from that contract, didn't you? I pressed. We didn't do anything illegal, my father snapped. We just made a smart deal. You're the one making this ugly. I leaned forward. So that's where the watch came from, I said. Neither of them corrected me. My chest burned, not with rage, but with the slow, sad heat of confirmation. You knew what you were doing, I said. And you gave it to him, knowing what it would look like, knowing what it could do to him if anyone found out. My mother crossed her arms. It's not like we told him to accept it. But you knew what it was, I said. They didn't answer. You put him in danger. You put the charity in danger. And for what? Do you want to be poor your whole life? My father shot back. Do you want to keep scraping by while people like that catering company make real money? People got sick, I reminded him. No one died yet, he muttered. Silence hung between us, and then he said it. You care more about how things look than about your own family? I nodded slowly, not because I agreed, but because I finally understood. No, I said. I care about right and wrong, and what you did was wrong. All of it. My mother looked like she might cry. Don't I get any space? She asked. I said a lot of it. No more calls, no more favors. I'm done. You don't mean that, my father said. I looked him dead in the eye. I do, and I want you to leave now. They left, not with a dramatic slam, but quietly, like they knew something had changed and they couldn't change it back. I stood in the doorway and watched them walk away. I didn't cry, didn't scream. I just stood there, holding the silence like it was something fragile for the first time in my life. Then there was a pounding on the door, not a knock but a forceful pounding, as if someone wanted to break it down or make a statement. I opened it slowly. My brother stood there, face flushed, breathing hard, like he'd sprinted across town in bad shoes. What did you do? He snapped. No hello? No preamble. I said. He looked past me. Is he here? My husband appeared behind me, silent and calm, but not smiling. Why don't you tell us what this is about? He asked. My brother rolled his eyes. You know what this is about. You're trying to ruin everything. You're putting all of us in danger. Well, that took a turn. What happened? I asked, keeping my tone even. You canceled the contract, he said. You were supposed to stay silent. Let it play out. Now the deal's off, and people are demanding their money back. Who? I asked. He paused for just a second. That split-second delay said everything. What people? I pressed. He didn't name them, but he gave enough details. They paid up front. Now the contract's void and we didn't deliver. They want all their money back. And they're not the type to send polite emails. Let me get this straight, I said. You took money from someone to push a deal. And now it's falling apart because we won't feed people expired meat. And you're acting like the victim? I didn't know the food was bad, he said quickly. Of course you didn't, I replied. Because you never ask questions when money's on the line. He crossed his arms. I'm going to have to sell my apartment. Well, maybe you shouldn't have bought it with money that wasn't yours, I shot back. I was helping the family, he snapped. No, my husband said, stepping forward. You were helping yourself. A long silence followed, thick and tense. Then my brother spoke again, his voice softer this time. If you bring the supplier back, we can fix this. We're not bringing them back, I said firmly. You should think about what happens if you don't. Is that a threat? My husband asked. It's a fact, he answered, and then added. We didn't slam the door in his face, but it was close. 3 days later, the posts started to appear. Anonymous accounts, old Facebook groups, local forums, even the charity's Google reviews. Did you know the manager drives a car worth more than your donations? Ask them where the Rolex came from. You think the homeless are getting fed? They're feeding themselves. One post featured a blurry but unmistakable photo of the watch. Then came the emails, tagged posts, and hashtags. By the end of the week, 2 sponsors had paused their donations. One event was quietly canceled. Late one night, we met in the office. My husband looked exhausted. The staff was rattled. Our volunteer coordinator was crying in the kitchen. I stood by the bulletin board, staring at the wall, as if it held the answers. Then my phone rang. State Department of Charitable Oversight. The voice on the other end said. I didn't even know such a thing existed until that moment. They wanted to talk about leadership, anonymous tips, and mismanagement concerns. They were very polite, which made it worse. I hung up and looked at my husband. He didn't ask what the call was about. I think he already knew. The next day, my parents called. Or maybe it was my brother using their phone. I didn't answer. Then came the email. Short and to the point with no sign-off. If the supplier is reinstated and our positions are restored, the attacks will stop. I read it 3 times. On the 4th, I laughed. Not because it was funny. My husband sat next to me. We should report it, he said. I nodded. Let's do it tomorrow. We didn't sleep much that night. The next morning, we went to the police. We brought everything. Emails, supplier reports, volunteer testimonies, screenshots of the attacks. We told them everything about the contract, the resistance, the pressure, the threats, the email. The officer who took our statement didn't flinch. You're not the first, she said. This is happening more often these days, but you did the right thing by coming forward. I wanted to believe that. I needed to believe we weren't too late. That truth still mattered. Even when it came in a plain envelope that smelled faintly of reheated soup. As we stepped out of the station, I looked back at the door. It didn't slam. It closed gently, like it knew we were stepping into a new chapter. The one where everything finally came to light. 6 months later, it made headlines. Front page news. A 2-page spread in a regional magazine. Even a radio feature. The story had it all. A charity scandal, bribery, betrayal, and the twist no one saw coming. A daughter who turned in her own family. My parents were sentenced to 18 months in federal prison for conspiracy, fraud, and bribery, with fines totaling $50,000. Most of their savings were gone. Their reputation destroyed. No more friendly nods at the post office. No more fond memories in the community. The court confirmed it. The watch had been part of the bribe, along with a $15,000 payment quietly wired to my father's account just weeks before the contract approval. Money that helped my brother cover his apartment deposit. He got probation and 200 hours of community service at a food bank of all places. The apartment he bought was seized. The catering company collapsed. The CEO was sentenced to a year in prison, hit with fines, a revoked license, and a public fall from grace. The website vanished. Their name became a cautionary tale in nonprofit circles. As for us, we were cleared, officially, publicly. The regulator issued a statement. Donors returned. Volunteers came back. The board reaffirmed my husband's leadership. In the staff kitchen, there was fresh coffee and fresh hope. I returned to work, real work, honest work. The kind that feeds people, grounds you, and reminds you every day why you chose to take a stand. Before I reported them, I thought it would haunt me. I imagined waking at 3 a.m., guilt gnawing at my ribs. I expected to hear my mother's voice accusing me of betraying blood. But I don't. I sleep well. Better than I used to, actually. Because every day I walk into that shelter and see someone enjoying a hot meal. Every day I hear a genuine thank you. And every day, I see the people we serve, the ones who truly matter. And I feel at peace. I did what was right. Not what was easy. Not what was painless, but what was right. There's clarity in that. I haven't spoken to my parents. They sent a letter. I haven't opened it. Not because I'm angry, but because it's done. Some chapters close. And that's okay. This morning, I walked into the kitchen. The radio was playing something silly and upbeat. The bread was fresh. Someone spilled soup and laughed. One of the new volunteers was showing someone how to chop onions without tears. It was noisy, messy, alive. It was good. And it was ours. So now I ask you, did it go too far or not far enough? Leave a comment and subscribe. Let me know if you'd like further adjustments.